Super Retro Force.
Hello, and welcome back to another Sergmanx video. Today's video, I'm going to talk about more Sega Genesis hidden gems that you definitely need to check out. Getting right into it, we're going to talk about Treasure's Alien Soldier, a fantastic game for the Sega Genesis. However, this game feels more like a boss rush type of game than normal Treasure games. Yeah, there are moments between the boss fights where you do fight some generic enemies, but they're very short segments, and then you get right into the next boss fight. And each of the boss fights vary in difficulty. Honestly, the first boss with the purple snake is actually very annoying, even on the easiest difficulty setting. But after you get past that, the game isn't too bad. And there's a lot of variety with each of the boss fights. You never know what you're gonna get with these crazy designs. The graphics look top-notch, some of the best on the system, and the music is absolutely incredible. A lot of these tunes will stick with you. Something else I really liked about Alien Soldier is the fact that you can customize the HUD before the start of the game. So if you don't like how your health is displayed, your energy, the boss health bar, you can change all that before the start of the game. And not only that, you can also choose between your starting weapon loadout, which is quite awesome. There's a lot of variety with the different weaponry you can use throughout the game. So check out Alien Soldier if this game looks appealing to you. It's a fun time. Next up, we have Burning Force. I actually never heard of this game until I read a comment on my previous Sega Genesis Hidden Gem video, and somebody mentioned it, so I looked it up, and this game is extremely fun. Right off the bat, this game bears striking similarities to Space Harrier, except you can't move around freely like in that game. At least, not yet. Later on, the third level of each stage, you get a spaceship, and then you can fly around, similar to how you would in Space Harrier. During these gameplay segments, you will also fight the stage boss. And depending on the level, these boss fights can get quite challenging, especially depending on the difficulty you're playing on. But they are a good time, and there are also bonus stages where you collect these different orbs, which grants you the ability to get a 1-up. Burning Force doesn't have the best graphics on the Sega Genesis. By no means is it bad, but isn't the best the system can offer. However, what it lacks in graphics certainly makes up for in music. Especially with the first stage of the game. That song is absolutely incredible, and I think it's one of the best Sega Genesis songs of all time, in my opinion. The Sega Genesis does in fact have a lot of shoot 'em up games, but I feel like Burning Force has an identity of its own and stands out among the rest. This is a really fun game. Definitely check it out if you have that Space Harrier itch and you want something that plays kinda similar to it, so I would recommend this game. Next up, we have Boogerman, a pick and flick adventure. Boogerman himself is definitely not pulling any ladies. He has a giant chin, his shoes have holes, he is a mess, but let's talk about the gameplay. And it's pretty fun. It's your basic 2D platformer, you hop on enemies, except there's a twist. Boogerman can fling projectiles with the power of his boogers. Makes sense, it's a pick and flick adventure after all. Boogerman can also burp and fart, and collect power-ups that allow him to do various different things, such as spit loogies, or with the power of a hot pepper, he can fly in the air with his farts. It's actually quite absurd, but I love it at the same time. The boss fights in this game, though, kinda suck. They're pretty hard, and they drag out way too long, in my opinion. Another thing that's kind of lacking with this game is the soundtrack. Besides the first stage, I couldn't even tell you a single song in this game that resonated with me, which is quite unfortunate because the Sega Genesis definitely has a lot of fantastic music across a lot of different games. This game does have collectibles such as plungers, so if you acquire a certain amount of plungers at the end of the level, you can stack them up into a ladder and collect a 1-up, so that's pretty cool. But in conclusion, If you're looking for something that has that classic 90s humor with the farts and the belching, Boogerman is then definitely the game for you. Just embrace the wackiness and enjoy the game for what it is. Next up, we have Aeroflash, and this is a game I haven't heard about until recently. And this is a fun 2D side-scrolling shoot-'em-up game, but with a little bit of a twist. And what I mean by that is, not only do you have your typical ship combat, you can also change into a mech, which also changes your projectiles and your special weapons, which is also really cool and gives the game a little bit of a different identity compared to other shoot-'em-up games. You might want to assess the situation and determine what mode you want to do. There's a section where you go through asteroids, so you're going to want to transform into your ship so you can avoid different meteors trying to hit you. I really like the art style of this game. The graphics are bright and colorful, and I really like the background elements to this game. Early on in the first level, something crashes in the background, and that forever changes the look of that particular level. Then later on, after you get past the asteroid field, you automatically end up at Jupiter and you see the planet in the background, and I think that was really cool to see. Just like Burning Force, this game features fantastic music, which is unsurprising because I've yet to really play a shoot-'em-up game with atrocious music. But this game delivers. I think the soundtrack is quite catchy and pretty good. So if you love shoot-'em-up games, you have no reason not to check out Aeroflash. You will love the hell out of this. It's a really fun game, and I highly recommend you check this one out. It's a good time. Next up, we have Sonic Spinball, and this is a extremely fun game. I know a lot of the fan base doesn't care for Sonic Spinball, as they say this is a bad game, but I highly disagree. This is actually my favorite pinball game of all time. It combines elements of Sonic and pinball in a great way. There are moments where you control Sonic the Hedgehog directly, and you can spin dash, you can jump, so I think that's pretty cool, although those moments don't come too often, but when it does happen, I actually appreciate it a lot. The goal of Sonic Spinball is to collect the Chaos Emeralds, and depending on the level you're playing as, will vary on how much Chaos Emeralds you actually have to find. And then you fight the end level boss, and I think it's cool that this game features boss battles. That's very true to the classic Sonic games, and I think they're pretty fun for the most part. In between levels, there are bonus stages which play more like traditional pinball than the gameplay we've seen with Sonic Spinball, and you can use that as an opportunity to get extra lives, which you'll need because the difficulty spike in this game hits hard, especially with the final level. If there's one thing you could say about the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, it's definitely its music and how consistently good it is overall for the most part in each of the entries, and Sonic Spinball is no different. There are a lot of catchy and iconic tunes in this game, and it'll definitely stick with you. Toxic Caves is probably the most iconic song in this game, along with Lava Powerhouse, and not to mention the boss theme slaps really hard. With that being said, don't let the haters bring you down and tell you Sonic Spinball is not a good game. Sonic Spinball is really fantastic. It's a fun game, and that's why, in my opinion, it's a hidden gem. There are so many ways you can play this game, just avoid the GBA version, because that is not good. Next up, we have Pulseman, and it's created by, what? Game Freak. That's pretty interesting. I first played this game on the Wii's Virtual Console back in the day, and I immediately thought to myself, why did this game never get a sequel or release here officially? I'll never know why, but this game is extremely fun. I slept on this game for years not knowing about it, and I'm glad I'm here to finally talk about how great Pulseman is. What I like about Pulseman is the ability to choose what level you want to start first. And once you get into the level, you're automatically greeted by some fantastic looking visuals and a striking soundtrack. Pulseman can do electrical punches, he can actually turn into an electrical ball and bounce around the stage, allowing you to reach higher places you normally couldn't jump to, and Pulseman has many more abilities at his disposal. What I found cool is, during the bonus stages, Pulseman acts like a ball from Arkanoid to hit all these different blocks to complete the bonus stage, and I think that was pretty unique to use his ability in that way for the bonus stage. Levels are interesting in a sense that you'll play in the quote-unquote real world, and then some segments feature a cyberspace type of environment similar to Mega Man 03 or even the Battle Network franchise, so that's pretty cool. And the boss fights are really well done, they're epic, and most importantly, not that frustrating for the most part. With that said, if you like what you see here, definitely play Pulseman, you will not regret it. This is one of the best on the system. Last but not least, we have YuYu Hakusho, a fighting game that is actually really unique. Not only did Treasure develop this game, but it also features your favorite YuYu Hakusho characters. You have fantastic fighting abilities such as the Spirit Gun, which is really overpowered in this game. And not only that, the graphics look great, the soundtrack, you hear the 16-bit YuYu Hakusho theme song. But the best feature in this game is the 4-player Battle Royale, which was unheard of. And guess what? The system and the gameplay barely slowed down. It is really fun, especially if you get some friends in the mix, you'll have a fantastic time. The game features a tournament mode, so you just pick your fighter and you'll go through the various brackets and matchups until you get to the last fight. Whether you win or not, that's up to you. And finally, the bread and butter of this game is the typical one-on-one fighting as you challenge a variety of fighters as you try to get to the end of the game. So if you love YuYu Hakusho or fighting games in general, do yourself a favor and check out YuYu Hakusho on the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive. And that concludes this edition of Sega Genesis / Mega Drive Hidden Gems. And as always, this has been another Sergmanx video. Have a good one, and peace out. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and comment below your thoughts on today's topic. Please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell to be notified when the next Sergmanx video drops. Have a good one.